Let's be honest, sim racing is confusing. Extremely confusing. One of the things that vexed me the most when I first started getting into setting up my sim rig and planning my sim rig was the button placement. I had these wheels show up about 3 weeks before all the other parts showed up, and I was just itching to start putting stickers on these wheels, but I had no idea what I was going to need, so I decided I was going to wait and I was going to play before I ended up labeling my wheel. And I'm going to go through right now how I started versus how it's going right now with my Acetec Forte Pro steering wheel. So in this video, I'm going to give you a rundown on my current wheel setup and how I had it when I first set it up. I'm also going to give you some feature rundowns on the Acetec Forte Formula Pro wheel, and I'm also going to give you a little bit of insight on how I'm enjoying the wheel and talk about the screen, because a lot of people that I heard talking about this wheel said the screen is completely useless. In general, a lot of people say screens are completely useless, and then some people say that they're using the information all the time, and I am going to say that I use them all the time. It has so much useful information. It's not being looked at, but it's in my peripherals constantly. When you see the greens, you know you're doing good. When you see red, you know you're doing bad. The shifter lights are just crucial. I don't use any of the other shifter lights anywhere else but the ones on the wheel. Anyway, I'm going to get to the setup right now, so stay tuned. So the day after I had the rig set up and I finally got Le Mans Ultimate on the computer, I went right into a practice lobby, and the first thing I was doing was I was driving around the track stuck in pit limiter mode. I had the pit limiter on and I had to instantly go back and set up a button for pit limiter because I couldn't drive around the track. Don't let this scare you into not getting a sim rig or thinking that you need buttons on your wheel. In Le Mans Ultimate, there's options to put pit limiter on automatically, and there's the same options for a lot of things, so you don't need the pit limiter. But once you get into actual racing, you're going to want it. I also added a pit request button, and then slowly after that, I ended up adding an escape button, so I could get to the main menu off of a button press on the steering wheel. And a couple things I added really quickly on during my racing career was I added a sorry button so I could say sorry for doing stupid things, and I added a seat height adjustment button on one of the rotary encoders so I could dial in the view from the driver's seat, which was actually a really great tip considering all of the tips that I ended up utilizing when I first set my sim rig up. A lot of them were total trash, like putting your wiper on your top paddle shifter. Yeah, no thanks. Nothing's worse than going into a corner, missing your downshift, but you turned on your wipers, which brings me to one of my best tips for your wheel setup. In my first week of racing, I had a couple epic mistakes that I kept on doing. I kept on downshifting into neutral on big corners accidentally, which is super dangerous and you lose control of the car. And the other one was that I was missing shifts when I was on really big corners. I was missing the shifter. I'd have to move my hand to the other side and hit the shifter. And I had a really easy remedy for both of these problems. I ended up mapping a second upshift and a second downshift on the top paddles. And then I added a neutral button so that when I needed to go into reverse, I could hit neutral and then hit reverse. Or if I spin out, I could hit neutral and then go up one gear instead of going down. It saved a lot of time, and I never hit neutral accidentally anymore, and I never missed downshifts anymore. Okay, so after about a week and a half of probably close to 100 races in LMU, I ended up revamping my wheel. I'm going to go over my current wheel layout right now. Okay, starting from the top right on the buttons, I have flash, which is really good for letting people know that you're a lap up on them or letting a faster car know to pass you. And then I have the pit limiter and pit request. Both are completely necessary if you're going to play LMU. Okay, the bottom right buttons, the left one is going to be escape. It just gets you to the main menu with a button press. And then the right one is going to be traction control cut, basically for spinning the car around if you're facing the wrong direction after a spin out. Okay, staying on the right side of the wheel, you have this little sideways switch at the top, and I made this into my driver height switch. Left's up, right is down. Simple. This can also be linked to your keyboard, and keep in mind that once you set the height on a particular car, it saves in the game. So if you're swapping around a lot of cars, this is nice to have on the wheel, but if you're going to just keep driving one particular car all the time, then you don't necessarily need this. Okay, to the right of that switch, you'll notice the rotary encoder is labeled as traction control. This is just traction control general. And then underneath in the middle of the rotary encoder is traction control 1, the yaw, and then traction control 2 on the bottom, which is the power of the traction control. And that brings us to the 7-way kinky switch on the right. I have this linked to the cursor, and when you press down in the middle, it clicks the mouse. I don't use this at all, but it's nice to have. In the middle, I added engine map, ABS, and I added regen, which some of these aren't useful in GT3, but I still added them for hypercars and for in case I'm doing any racing games that I need those. Okay, that brings us to the left side of the wheel. I'm going to start with the top 3 buttons. The top one is for hiding the chat. The next one down is for hiding the cursor. And the one below that is for putting the car into neutral. And the bottom 2 buttons are linked to thank you and sorry. At the top left of the wheel, I have this little sideways switch. Hitting it to the left hides the black box and hides the place settings. Hitting it to the right hides the little track minimap. I ended up setting it up like this because I kept on dropping my keyboard and the minimap was gone. And I really needed that minimap when I first started racing, so I wasn't crashing off of every hairpin. Okay, to continue on with the left side of the wheel, that brings us to the rotary encoders. The top rotary encoder is for brake bias. The middle one is for brake mitigation, which is not applicable in Le Mans Ultimate. And then the bottom one is for body roll, ARB, for the rear, which is also not applicable for Le Mans Ultimate. And last but not least, for the left side of the wheel is going to be the 7-way kinky switch. I have this one set up for just black box functions. It's exactly like I did with the cursor, only applicable to the black box. Okay, that brings me to the rear of the wheel. The Forte Formula wheel does not have the 2 buttons like the Invicta wheel. It just includes 6 paddles. The 2 bottom ones are double clutches, and then I set up the 2 top ones on each side for upshift and downshift. Okay, now that I've gone over my button layout for my Forte Formula wheel, I'm going to go over the Forte Formula wheel itself and the things that I really love about it. Starting with the screen. I love the screen. I love the screen. It has all the pertinent information that I need. My deltas. When I see green underneath in my peripheral, I know I'm doing good. When I'm seeing red, I know I'm not doing that good. If I slide out, I can go look down and see, oh, one of my tires really took it and is really hot. And if that tire is really hot like that, you're probably not going to be able to drive around the track as fast as you normally would. I never was planning on getting a wheel with a screen. I was planning on getting the Forte Formula button box, just the regular one. I ended up getting this for like the same price. So it was a total score. And I love the screen, if you didn't already know. It's like impossible to miss a yellow flag or a blue flag with the screen. And I also want to add that sometimes when I'm turning around corners, I'll bump the brake bias or I'll bump the traction control. It comes right up on the screen, overlaid on top of the awesome dashboard that they have there. It says brake bias. So now you know, you're like, oh, I just accidentally hit the brake bias. So you can like switch it back if you want to. It's pretty awesome. And the screen's touchscreen. So you have like 4 different options, including SimHub. And funny story, when I first got this set up, I tried to download SimHub before I even did any racing. And I downloaded like the App Store, some virus app, and I could not get it off, but I've luckily got it off. I've never downloaded SimHub yet because I'm scared now. I don't know where I get it, but in reality, I love the Acetec dash. Like I really love the dash on the Acetec. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get the SimHub. And I cannot stress this enough. I have zero to do with Acetec. They don't sponsor me in any way. I didn't get a deal from them. I'm not getting paid. I'm not some paid shill. I just own Acetec and I happen to like it. And I may be biased, but in my opinion, it's impossible to get a non-biased opinion in sim racing because if you ask between 2 brands and which one you should get, no one will give you any good advice. They'll just tell you to buy 5 other different brands. It's insane. And to be fully transparent, I have zero experience with any of these other brands. I can only compare this Forte Formula wheel to the Invicta Formula wheel. Is it less quality? Yes. Do I like the carbon fiber paddle shifters on the Invicta wheel more? Yes. But this one is about 2 inches shorter and it's just fitting in my rig right now. So this is the one I'm using. And do you need a screen on your wheel? No. Do you need all the buttons? Kind of. I would not recommend sim racing without at least a button box or some sort of stream deck because that would be really annoying. But could you get away with just the normal Invicta or Forte wheel? Yes, that's a ton of buttons and a ton of functionality. You do not need the screen. Do I think that the screen has made me a better racer? Yes, I do. But I definitely could have got away with just a stream deck for a lot of the functionality that I'm using on the wheel. And I'm sure that you could set up auto for a lot of the things that you need the wheel for or a button for and still be racing perfectly fine. Although I'll admit, I'm still getting drive-through penalties at the start of races with the pit limiter. So I don't know how it would be without it. I just want to touch upon linking buttons to functions. It's very simple. In the Le Mans Ultimate settings, you have different subcategories like car controls or interactions. You click on whatever you want to control. It'll say reading. Then you click the button you want to link it to, and it's done. It's that simple. Okay, so to wrap things up, when you get into sim racing, I recommend setting a couple things that you need, like the pit limiter from the very beginning, where you think they should be, racing for like a week, and then revamping your wheel like I did, making changes as necessary, and hopefully, eventually you'll have a full wheel full of functionality, and it'll help your lap times. See you on the grid, people. Until next time, I'm Bosco Too Fast. Peace.